This is really important for both players to secure this win. If ViBe wins this game, then all of a sudden he jumps from 6th place to tied for 2nd. And HuK would cement himself as even threatening to take the 1st place spot if Straylock loses tonight. So, and this is really important for playoff positioning because otherwise you don't want to force yourself through the wild card. And it's really important just to establish that, especially because we're 6 weeks into the season. So at this point you can tell that both players really want this game just for division points. And that's why HuK even showed up, despite the fact that he's playing at MLG Spring Arena, makes this game as a priority. That's why you guys should be watching at this point. Let's introduce our players. ViBe is the red Zerg in the bottom left. Danny Sherlock from Team Root Gaming. And in the top right, we have HuK. The blue Zerg, the blue Protoss, Forge Fast expanding.
It's alright, they switched up on you. HuK used to
Have you ever seen HuK off-race as Zerg?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. I'm curious because I know some Protoss, like MC, have a really good Zerg. And some other people have pretty good off-races, but I've never seen HuK off-race.
15 spawning pull from ViBe. So a little interesting, a little bit more economic focused.
But no expansion attempt from him either.
To be expected on a map like Daybreak. And a Forge is going to go down directly after that on 18. I like this style a lot more. I've been doing it. And you get the pylon down really, really quickly. There are other alternatives. You can actually get the gateway instead of going that pylon. Get delayed probes, but it does help out with going any sort of tech. It's just, it's kind of tough because you have to wait on your force fields, your chrono boosts, and the main reason for that is because you have such a low probe count. Spending is really difficult for you, so if you want to get that tech out super fast, you will have to give up a lot of economy, but it still gives you some options.
Yeah, and we've seen Protosses just go for Nexus first pretty comfortably, especially when Zerg doesn't get gas. Their ability to pressure is very limited as long as you SimCity correctly. Daybreak, not like Antigua Shipyards where you have a lot of area to cover at your natural. You can pretty much secure it with one cannon initially. Now, ViBe is double expanding simultaneously, taking his 2nd and 3rd hatcheries at very standard times. If you want to go gasless, be 3 hatch before any kind of tech. Now, I want to see HuK's game plan because he's the one who chose this map. We've seen lots of different styles played because Daybreak is one of our most chosen map, but it all comes down to a lot of blink play. A lot of times people, whatever they open, whether it's like a Void Ray opening or it's like a Dark Templar opening, they always end up falling back onto Blink Stalkers. And I'm wondering if that's what HuK's trying to lean towards as well.
It definitely could be. I mean, Blink Stalkers has always been a huge part of PvZ. And it's always been showcased in so many different matches, especially with HuK. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw macro play from him. Surprisingly, I've actually seen HuK play on this map quite a few times. I haven't seen him 2-base all in on this map for the most part. So I'm quite interested in what he does here. Now, he does have very interesting cybernetics core placement. And I want to mention that very quickly because he didn't opt to defend his front. Elite obviously gives his opponent the opportunity to do some run buys, but I don't think that'll happen anytime soon, as gas isn't even put down. ViBe is just going to simply macro up from here. That's all we should be seeing. This is the very standard play that we've seen all the time, the Stefano style. And what ViBe needs to concentrate is where are the chrono is being allocated and when are the assimilators being taken. That will give him indication of what his opponent is capable of.
Yeah, and HuK got a pretty late +1. He was floating a lot of gas. You can see he's still floating a little bit of gas overall. He's saving it. Now, he is getting 3 more gateways, so he could go for +1 4-gate pressure on that 3rd. You can see that at the 3rd already. The Zealot is meeting with the Queen, but it looks like their date didn't go that well. As looks like my first dates whenever I go on a date with Queens from Zerg. But you can see that HuK is... I swear, man, I swear sometimes I go on blind dates and it's like, I swear, man, you serve the overmind. It's terrible. But look at this. ViBe scouts it with his Overlord very well. And ViBe's been on top of stuff. He also caught the gas timings as well at the natural. So ViBe's on top of his stuff, man.
I do want to mention that HuK had only 2 probes, and he still had only 2 probes on this one assimilator on the right-hand side. That's quite unfortunate because he looks to be doing something very aggressive. Twilight Council gets placed, so it is a 4-gate Twilight Council. I don't think this Twilight Council is really to do any... it could actually be to do damage.
He's saving up a lot of gas,
yeah,
a huge amount of gas.
I don't know if this is going to be some sort of weird 2-base timing with Archons, or he's actually using... It could be Dark Templars as well.
Well, the third base is currently in production and is immediately being picked off here by the Zerglings. And that's going to annoy HuK to no end. You can see this Twilight Council also placed at the front of the natural, which is very interesting placement to say the least. It gives your opponent a lot of vision and option. I mean, it could be to intimidate his opponent as well, but +2 immediately being started here with that Twilight Council. No immediate upgrade, lots of gas. Man, I can't even stress how much gas HuK has at this point in time, but he's warping in Zealots at the third, trying to pressure it. Now, ViBe's been pretty greedy here. He hasn't gotten enough roaches out to defend, and so regardless of what happens, he's going to lose mining times. He might even lose some drones here, but HuK's going to turn around and start targeting the hatchery.
Yeah, and there it is. The roaches will pop out over here. The drones actually start engaging. And can he actually kill the hatchery in time?
Well, the Stalkers are coming in here for added DPS, and it's going to be very close race, but I don't think ViBe's going to hold on to this hatchery, as the Stalkers will be the ones cleaning up for it. Now, HuK was very smart with it. He saw the opportunity that he had because the Zealots would just turn around and attack the drones, but here comes a surround with the Zerglings as well.
Beautiful.
And this is very good by ViBe, cleaning up the rest of those units. As you can see that HuK's falling back. But I think HuK got what he wanted ultimately, killing the third, killing some drones.
I actually think HuK went way behind by doing that. Let's go ahead and look at the units lost tab. It is about equal, but the third base over here in the top left-hand corner will be kind of that replacement for there.
Ooh.
And oh wow, Zerglings are going to get in here, kill all 3 of the sentries, and he should be able to take out the photon cannons. ViBe is going to take a massive advantage by taking out this third base, and he needs to actually warp in units ASAP, but another round of Zerglings get in here, and they're able to deal with the Zealots very efficiently. Wow, ViBe is in a great position to get an advantage at this mid-game stage.
Yeah, HuK's, he's going to evacuate the base immediately, realizing that he doesn't have much defensive options here because he only has the 6 gates. Now, at the same time, ViBe did chase his probes up initially, but lost a little bit of time. That gives HuK enough breathing room, at least, to warp in some of these Zealots. And Zealots are pretty efficient at dealing with it. And with that, HuK should be able to stabilize against the Zerglings, but the roaches, now HuK has to deal with that as well. 2 cannons finish up, and look at that. HuK is able to really pressure off these units, sending back his probes. And after all is said and done, HuK is able to stabilize at his third for just a moment's notice.
Yeah, oh wow. Yeah, another round of units should help out right here. It's actually sentries, a very interesting choice. But he is able to kill all those roaches. It looks like 16 more roaches on the way out. Let's look at the income tab. 54 to 55. ViBe is actually not doing anything with this base over here. He needs to do something desperately. But remember, he has a ton of hatcheries, and he's going up to 5 hatcheries. So saturating these bases will become very easy in a little bit. He's actually in still a great position, and now he has this game of attacking the natural and attacking the third base over and over and over again. Now, I don't think he can do it continually since he doesn't have the right upgrades yet, and he doesn't have the infrastructure, i.e. the economy, to actually keep this up. But he will be able to accomplish a lot if he puts his mind to it and starts up with this Immortal, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the Sentry Immortal is very, very good against the style. Protoss, especially MC, have been doing it. Look at it. Those are MCS force fields. We're just slowly locked down on the roaches. And even with 1 Immortal, he should be able to trap the remainder of the units. Oh, no! ViBe stayed way too long. And all of a sudden, his units shouldn't be able to leave whatsoever if HuK actually holds on to his sentries. He's not cutting them back whatsoever, but regardless of what happens, ViBe lost a lot of supply there, Andre.
Yes, he did. I thought he would have been able to get a couple more sentries there, but he was not able to accomplish that. The Immortal count is actually increasing pretty rapidly. 2 Immortals right now. Yeah, he's making sure it is chrono boosted. That's so important to do. Now roaches are going to go over to this third base here and try to do a little bit of damage. How does he actually react? It is kind of difficult. It's kind of awkward for him to defend against this. But we're going to see, oh wow, a huge round of sentries in here.
Oh my god, HuK's at 15 sentries, and keep in mind he's lost a few throughout the game thus far, but there's a huge amount of roaches as well, so HuK's taking this very seriously because he needs energy, because his first batch of sentries, they don't really have energy after using all those force fields initially. So HuK's taking this matter very, very seriously. You can see that he's moving out, trying to see if he can trap these roaches as well.
Oh, sentries actually die needlessly, and he needs to be so careful, HuK. There are a couple units over here, Immortals and Sentries over on the side, just waiting for his opponent to go to the other side. I do want to mention one thing, that he is preparing Tunneling Claws and Burrow. That'll help out so much against the mass Sentry count. Another way, or another 2 ways to actually go about it, 3 ways, is Infestor. You can go Baneling Drops, or you can go Mutas. Those 3 styles actually are able to do a lot. But here we go, another attack comes in here, and the Sentries again are going down. This is so difficult for HuK. He needs to retain these as best as possible.
Yeah, he needed to keep his units on top of the ramp above his natural, not necessarily reactionary, but you can understand where his idea was to try to preserve the amount of units he had efficiently. If ViBe went for a massive attack as a third, his units would not be able to get there in time. So HuK trying to play zone defense, but in the end, ViBe finally caught up in workers. He actually had a huge influx of them, 18 to catch up. And up until then, HuK had a pretty big economic advantage because of the low amount of units, or low amount of workers rather. But we have a replay available. Let's look at what happened just now between HuK and ViBe. And you can see ViBe lurking the third was really key, but the whole idea, he was threatening to push at the natural. And HuK losing these sentries that were racking so much energy was a very devastating loss, Andre.
Yeah, killing the sentries is so important when you're going up against Protoss. It really weakens their mid-game pushes, especially when Colossus start to get on the field. But actually, you know, from the live broadcast we have right now, the Stargate is coming out, so he's not actually going into Colossus. He's sticking with just mass gateway units and going straight to the mothership. Very interesting take on PVZ. I haven't actually seen the style.
This is actually a really good thing, though, because more and more Protosses realize that if they just stick on Roach Lane and they don't necessarily need any kind of AoE to deal with it. Yes, it helps a lot, but if you have Force Fields, Blink Stalkers, and Immortals, you can crush it.
Yeah.
And a Mothership gives you strong positional advantage to really recover in case anything happens. Especially if Zerg doesn't really have Infestors out into the field, they can't necessarily deal with it. The big thing are Tunneling Claws, though, Andre, and you're absolutely right about that, if ViBe can really capitalize on it. But with HuK's sheer amount of sentries out, he still has 7, despite him losing like 10 throughout this game. I mean, HuK's pretty safe at this point, and I like the fact that he's taking a 4th base.
Yeah, safe. He is safe to an extent, but all it takes is a really nice tech switch from ViBe to actually crush this. Now, ViBe has been so behind in that. I do want to mention that. As you can see, Infestation Pit is just now put down. Nice blink on top of the roaches. You'll be able to clean up a lot of those. Now, it is very equal supplies. That will give HuK the big advantage going into this. You can see he's invested slightly more, but he doesn't want to engage off creep, but it looks like HuK is forcing him to do that. Nice blink Stalker micro, and he doesn't want to go up that ramp.
Ooh, losing some of those roaches, and that's just going to chew more gas out of ViBe. He has an Infestation Pit almost prepared. And again, these kinds of things are just giving HuK slight advantages because it makes his army stronger and stronger. Now he's splitting up his army so his Stalkers go to the top left and snipe very important base here from ViBe because it's a huge amount of his economy as well as his gas. And you can see ViBe is trying to go for the third, a little bit of a pseudo base trade here as HuK is trying to run back and defend accordingly. He's got 5 Immortals, which should be enough. Look at how many cannons there are, and the probes are trying to stop them as well. HuK sacrificing a lot of his economy, but if ViBe loses this army, these Stalkers are going to absolutely ravage the rest of his base.
Yeah, and you can see the Stalkers are actually going to the 3rd base. That's going to be so difficult to actually defend against. Roaches are going to come up from the rear in this attack and try to do a little bit. The Force Fields tried to trap those roaches in place, but they're just going to burrow and pop out on the other side. Can ViBe actually keep this up? I'm not sure. The 3rd base and the 4th base have been removed. A ton of Spine Crawlers. He thought this was a super base race, so he put so many Spine Crawlers down, but no! HuK is going to retain both his 3rd base and his 4th base. Wow!
Yeah. And he just transfers his probes as if it's no big deal, and he's able to snipe 3 important bases. GG, HuK takes game number 3 on Daybreak after some fantastic decision-making, great control, despite the fact that he loses some units here and there. Excellent, excellent splitting and choices made by our Evil Geniuses player.
Beautifully played in that game. I have to say, what I loved the most from that was just the choice to actually break away and just send his Stalkers in. He knows his Stalkers have the highest ability to actually retreat with that blink ability. Zealots, Sentries, they don't really have that option, especially if they get surrounded. So only going out with the Sentries and knowing that you have Sentries and Immortals, which actually diminish very fast based on your opponent and if they have the ability to tech, which he didn't know that, but he still has to defend against something like that. So going back was the safer route. He was able to take out the 4th base. If all of his Stalkers die, it's fine because he still has his 4th base, and he can go from there and have equal economy. So really well played by HuK. He was able to defend a 3rd and 4th base and move on from there. I have to say, I mean, he definitely deserved that game.
I love the style that you don't have to rush for Colossus against Masters. A lot of Protoss players panic, and we were saying on the Korean server, a lot of people love doing Blinkstalker Immortal to handle that, and HuK played it to perfection. Game number 3 in the series was brought to you by Kingston HyperX, the people who provide SSD and memory for NASL Season 3. Check them out at kingston.com.